So here, I'm not going to go into great detail because I've done other videos for you in terms of the different types of business structure, but thinking about, should you have a limited company, an LLP, should you be a sole trader, or should you have just a standard ordinary partnership? And it's going through the pros and cons of each single one and working out which works better for you. And by the way, if you're doing, let's say, service accommodation and deal sourcing and flipping and commercial conversions, for example, then there's no reason why you can't use some or all of these structures for the different parts of your property business. So it's not just always limited company is the best way forward. It's maybe you might have an LLP because you're doing property training, or you might have an LLP because you're doing service accommodation, and thinking about what are the benefits of an LLP which work better for this type of business compared to a limited company, sole trader, or a partnership. Like I said, I've got other videos here, you can search for them. They're kind of dotted around on this particular channel. But what I'm going to go into, which I think is quite important alongside this particular structure, is at some point thinking about, okay, our business is becoming sophisticated, or it's going to become sophisticated. How do we manage that better and make it more streamlined? Well, one opportunity is to have a holding company, which, let's say, husband and wife situation again, and they both own 50% each of the shares in the holding company. The holding company then forms new SPVs, special purpose vehicles, every time you do a new project. Unless, for the purpose of this example here, say you've got a husband and wife doing commercial conversions, so they buy commercial property and then convert it into residential units. So SPV1 here, 2, 3, so on, so forth. Now, before I go further, let's say you only have one limited company right now and you formed a second one, so you're doing 2 commercial conversions. Can you add a holding company on top? Yes, you can, but that will cost you money in terms of advice from a tax person or an accountant like myself, and we do quite a bit of that. And then they might recommend to you that you should get clearance from HMRC. That depends how comfortable they are with the advice and whether they think it works or not. So whether or not you get clearance, you'll need written advice from an accountant and a tax advisor who can give you the exact steps and implement it for you, because you definitely can't do this at home, by the way. It's complicated stuff. The other option is, when you're starting off, doing it from day one. So forming the holding company first, then forming SPV1, and as you build your business, having more companies added on as you proceed. That is a cheaper way of doing it. This, adding that on top, is going to be more expensive in terms of advice and implementation. So it's thinking about which one works better for you. Now, a common question I get asked is, well, what happens when we finish this particular project? I've got £100,000 here. What do I do with the company? Well, if you're not going to use it anymore, the 100 grand transferred into 𝐡𝐞, and you can then dissolve this company here. That 100 grand sits up here now. That can go into here, 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 or any future company, so you can use the cash as you wish. When the dividend gets paid into a holding company, there's no tax to pay. So that's how you can utilize those funds. And when you've used these companies and you have no further use because you've done a commercial conversion, for example, and you've sold all the units, you can just close them and move on. Or you can do another project in this company once you finish the first one. Totally up to you. Most people usually move on simply because what happens is they may have other partners involved in these companies, and they just want to close that off and move on, because they might have a different partner here or a different investor, so they just want to keep it all nice, clean and tidy. But nothing stops you using these companies again. But I'd say don't do more than one project in one company at any one time, because the whole thing of having an SPV and limited liability is you limit the risk of one particular project into in that company. If you've got 2 projects, one goes wrong, one's working well, the one that goes wrong could bring down the other one, and that could be disaster for you. So one project in one company at any one time works better.